You're watching a partial lunar eclipse on time and date, the longest partial lunar eclipse in over 1,000 years. We can see where we are on the timeline on the left-hand side of our screen. The overall duration is more than 6 hours, and we're just over halfway through that. The maximum point of the eclipse came around about 25 minutes ago. The moon is now being uncovered again. The Earth's dark umbral shadow is slowly moving off the face of the moon. And over the course of the next 1 hour and 20 minutes, it will be slowly uncovering the moon once again. And the moon will be returning from its reddish color we're seeing here. It'll be returning to its traditional silver grayish color. Right now on the screen, we've got two fabulous images of this eclipse. Our main image coming from the San Diego Astronomy Association. That's Dave and Gary up in the hills outside San Diego. And the small image in the top right corner, which just as we look at it,
clouds.
this has been the story of the night so far in
Sudbury.
Northern Ontario,
Yeah.
in Sudbury. We've got streaming locations in Sudbury, in nearby North Bay, also a bit further east in New York. All night. they've
Struggling
been
with clouds.
Struggling with clouds. We did see there, Anna, we did have a beautiful blood moon in the corner of our screen, but now we just have a black cloud.
And there is probably one person scrambling now thinking, oh, right now, this was the worst moment that the moon could disappear.
Right. This is appalling timing that the clouds have, because we are just about to go live to Sudbury, and we're going to the Science North Museum in Greater Sudbury in Northern Ontario, where we're going to speak to Aletha McIntyre and the team at the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Sudbury Centre. So, Sudbury, can you hear us?
Loud and clear, Graham.
Hi, you guys. Wow, you're huddled up there in front of the camera. Graham just told us where you are, but who are you with, Olathe?
So these are lovely members of the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Sudbury Centre. So I'll let them say hello.
Hi.
Norm.
Hi, it's Colin here. Paul Velez, same thing.
And Linda Palaia.
Nice to meet you all.
Excellent. And you all look very wrapped up there. What's the what's the temperature outside there in Sudbury at the moment?
It's about -2 degrees, and we have had snow and rain in addition to all the clouds.
Wow, golly.
And you've
It's a
been
bit windy
fighting those
too.
clouds. Yeah, we could hear the wind earlier. You've been really fighting those clouds, but we can see a sliver of the moon peeking out through the clouds there. We've got your moon right above you. You've got above you in the sky, and we've got it above you on the screen. Yeah. And it sounds like you're having fun.
Oh yeah. We're having fun, yeah.
Oh, yes, we've had fun.
Okay, so you guys so you guys are outside of the Science North Museum there in Sudbury, and Aletha, you're part of the space place at Science North. What's that all about?
Well, actually, we're up here at our Dynamic Earth site, and something fun about Sudbury is that we are actually on the edge of the world's 3rd largest crater, which I think is a really fitting place to be, observing the spectacularly cratered surface of the moon. So we're in a pretty neat location, and we are outside. I can just show you briefly our setups here. So that's my setup. I'm using my Android phone to send the images. The Celestron 11 there. And Norm is over here. Get him there. There it is.
Well done.
Yeah. And then behind me, Colin. So we tried to get 3 different views. So I'm really zoomed in. Norm's kind of mid zoomed in. And Colin has his camera here with a new toy. It's been tracking the moon beautifully all night.
Yeah.
Not that we can see
Wow.
a lot
Okay.
of it. Okay, so now that you know where I am, Space Place is sort of my domain at Science North. I'm a staff scientist there, and I kind of take care of, and well, I actually do take care of a hands-on exhibit area. So you get to come in and really engage with science and the fundamental physics involved in exploring space and understanding our place in the world. And I also run the planetarium, so I actually get to fly through space on the regular, which is very fun.
Yeah, great. And just as you were talking there, I think that was from Colin, just above you on the screen. We had a very nice moon image come in there from Colin, although again, I think it's just getting lost by the clouds. Now, Aletha, over the next few years, there is going to be a lot of attention focused on the moon. Can you tell us what's going to be happening with the moons, with the moon and humans over the coming years?
Well, this is something that I find very exciting. So most of us are absolutely familiar with the Apollo program, which sent men to the moon. And we are now ramping up for a follow-up program that has actually been called Artemis. So Artemis was the twin sister of Apollo, or is, in the pantheon of Greek gods and goddesses. And Artemis is actually the goddess of the moon. So it's really fitting that this program, which is aiming to return humans to the moon, is named Artemis. And especially because this time, it's not just going to be men that go. The goal is to send women and also to send people of color. So that's pretty exciting.
Yeah. And what's the latest time frame we're looking at for this program?
So there've been delays. So the hope was to really have it going in 2024. It's definitely already underway. 13 countries have signed on to the Artemis Accord, including Canada. And maybe for those of you out there watching, maybe your country too, look it up, check it out. So it's in progress. We probably won't have people going up by 2024 because we have to design whole new spacesuits that people can work in a gravity environment with on the surface of the moon. So that's a whole new engineering challenge. But near future.
Yeah.
And Aletha, do you actually want to go to the moon?
I would absolutely go to the moon if given the opportunity. And as you know, I did apply to be an astronaut with the Canadian Space Agency. I made it to the top 2%, but I was not selected. The consolation prize is that I am now an ambassador for the Canadian Space Agency, and they actually help fund the live start parties that Science North offers in and also virtual. So it's very fun to still be working with the Canadian Space Agency. I absolutely respect them. They're an amazing organization.
And what did you have to do to get to those final 2%? How do you go so far in becoming an astronaut?
Well, there was a really long application. So nearly 8,000 people started the application and less than 4,000 people finished it. So that weeded out a lot of people right there. But after the lengthy application, there were some online tests and some medical exams. And once we got through those hurdles, there were 72 of us left who actually got to go to a military base in Quebec and go through an assessment. So I was in a group with 24 other candidates, and something that's really awesome is that the 2 candidates who were selected, Josh Kutrick and Jenny Seide, were in my group, and Jenny and I actually buddied up. So I got to know her pretty well. And because Canada is part of the Artemis program, we're building a Canadarm3 to go on the Lunar Gateway, which is the space station that will be in orbit around the moon, and which will also act as the launching point for the Orion vehicle to go on to Mars. Because we're contributing a Canadarm to that, it means that we get to send an astronaut as well. So I don't know if it'll be Jenny, but there's a chance that that someone I know and have met and have spent some really amazing time with, I might get to follow her adventure to the moon.
Wow.
I'm getting kind of jealous of both Aletha and Jenny, I
Yeah.
think.
She also wants to come to Science Park too, because she studied combustion in microgravity, and we have this big discovery theater, and we're always blowing stuff up in it. So she really wants to come and blow stuff up in the theater.
Who doesn't want to blow stuff up?
I know, right?
Excellent. Well, that is really something we can all be looking forward to over the coming years. So yeah, Aletha, thank you very much for giving us a very different perspective on the moon there. And yeah, that's going to be great to follow the progress of Jenny and the rest of the Artemis program over the coming years. And Aletha, thank you so much for having a chat with us tonight, and thank you to all the team there for all the work and for all the fighting against the elements and the weather. And we've had our fingers crossed all night that the clouds will clear up a bit.
And they have a little bit.
They sure have. Yes.
We
So,
actually had a peak at like a few seconds right at 4:02 at our maximum. We did actually get to glimpse it, which was pretty nice. And we are definitely enjoying exploring space from Earth right here in Sudbury, Ontario.
Well, that's terrific. And hey, Aletha McIntyre at Science North in Sudbury, and to the team there from the Royal Astronomical Society of Canada Sudbury Centre, thanks so much for your feeds and for having a chat with us tonight. That's terrific.
As always, we're taking a break, but we will be back. Go to timeanddate.live, check out our news feed. You can read about Aletha there. You can read about Linda from Sudbury RAS.
Right.
And see you soon. You're watching an almost total lunar eclipse with timedate.com. And we're looking at this really interesting image of the moon here. It's almost like, I'm calling it the fish tank moon, but it again has to do with exposures and how we decide to look at a lunar eclipse and to expose for the light side to get the more reddish color on the other side, or exposing on the bright side and then getting the other side being really, really dark. And that we are struggling against the clouds, or I'm saying we, but it's our wonderful partners that are struggling against the clouds, pretty much all over at the moment, except for Dave and Gary here in San Diego. And looking at our timeline, we're moving we're quite far into the partial stage, moving towards the end there, when it's ending in about 45 minutes or so.
About 45 minutes, and yes, the Earth's dark umbral shadow will be completely off the face of the moon. So yeah, we're going to be here for the next hour bringing these live pictures. The moon right now is more or less directly over Hawaii.
Yeah.
And this is a full moon we're looking at.
Yeah.
So it's visible from anywhere on the nighttime side of the Earth. So right now, yes, this is the view, in fact, from the top of Mauna Kea on the big island of Hawaii. And yeah, right now we are looking directly upwards at the moon. The moon is more or less directly above Hawaii at this moment. This is the Subaru telescope.
Yeah. The Subaru Asahi Star camera.
That's right. So this is a camera that's been set up next to the big telescope, which we can just see in the bottom right corner of the screen. This camera is pointing directly up at the moon, just close to the moon, but just out of picture here. As the moon is moving directly overhead, we do have that star cluster that we were talking about earlier, the Pleiades star cluster, which in Japanese is Subaru. So this big Japanese telescope at the top of Mauna Kea, named after the Pleiades, named Subaru. So this is a very exciting eclipse for the team at the Subaru telescope.
It is, and look at all those stars. It's just like, it's not only the star cluster, which has completely disappeared now, and but it is quite amazing to be looking at this sky. Okay, the image is buffering, and looking at this sky and looking at all those amazing stars going on there. Now, obviously, internet isn't as good on top of a dormant volcano, so we're back further down to sea level in Waimea, Hawaii here.
Right, so here we've just moved to the north. So we're now at the north of Big Island.
Yeah.
We're down at sea level on the coast. Yes, this is Preeti Krishnamurthy and Avinash Surendran, also known as the Starry Nights. And yeah, they are streaming this image of the moon from outside their house there in Waimea on the north coast of Hawaii's Big Island.
Yeah, so here we have it. And we're going to talk a little bit about the moon now, Graham, aren't we?
Right, so Aletha got us thinking about the moon in the interview that we did with her just now. It is an exciting period in the moon's history coming up with the return of humans to the moon.
And we've got quite a few things going on with the moon on our pages.
Right, at Time and Date, we have just started a new section on the planets and on our moon, and we are building up that section of our website, talking about the solar system and the objects.
We do have a thing called the Night Sky Viewer, where you actually could go in and have a look at the moon and the Pleiades next to the moon, because it does show all the different constellations and planets in the sky, doesn't it?
Exactly right. Yeah, the night sky viewer is always a great tool for seeing exactly what the sky looks like in any particular direction at any particular time from your location. And yeah, we know lots of astronomers around the world who find it just a very, very simple and quick reference tool for seeing what time things are going to rise and exactly where they're going to be in the sky.
And usually what they say, then we're looking for sunrise, sunset, we're looking for roughly position, and that's it. They just go in and they do their thing.
Exactly.
But speaking of the moon, we have a fairly special moon, don't we? Except for it's super special right now, but
right. So there are over 200 moons in our solar system. Our moon ranks as the 5th biggest of these moons. Jupiter has 3 moons that are bigger. Saturn's moon, Titan, is also bigger. So in terms of overall size, our moon ranks as number 5.
out of how many moons?
Out of over 200 moons.
Okay, so it's still quite big.
It is. But what is really special about our moon is its size relative to the size of its parent planet. In other words, the size of the moon relative to the Earth. So the moon is about 27% the size of Earth. And by that measure, the moon is number 1 by a long, long way. In fact, the moon is enormously big. The second biggest moon in the solar system, in terms of size relative to its parent planet, is Triton, a moon of Neptune, and that is 5% the size of its parent planet. So our moon, 27% the size of Earth. In second place, Triton, 5% the size of Neptune. Our moon is, by that measure, just a giant within the solar system.
Neptune's pretty big too, though.
Neptune is much bigger than Earth.
Yeah.
Yes. But Triton, the size of Triton is smaller than the moon, and yes, and certainly relative to the size of Neptune, much, much smaller.
Super interesting. And how did the moon happen? How did it? Because what are moons and how do they happen? And our moon is fairly round and perfect and.
Yeah, so at the moment, the most widely accepted theory for how our moon came to be was going back to the early days of the solar system, when there was a lot of things flying around the sun. There were planets being formed. There was a lot going on. The widely accepted theory is that the early Earth was struck by a large object, a Mars-sized object, and that this collision threw up a lot of debris which went around the Earth, and over time gravity pulled this debris together and it formed the moon that we see today.
Fascinating. Like I just can't. I'm struggling to kind of imagine it, but it, yeah. But then the moon gets bombed away. Those things have been. You're talking about this collision way back when, but the moon has been bombed as well, with stuff flying around, rocks flying around in space.
Right. So that there has been a lot going on in the inner solar system, and the Earth has been bombed a lot as well by meteors and objects flying around. Of course, the big difference between Earth and the moon, firstly, Earth has an atmosphere. So a lot of the things actually getting burned up in the atmosphere before they reach the ground. The other big difference is that Earth is really a living planet. It's got plate tectonics. There's erosion going on. When there is a big impact in the past, and when there are big craters formed, they don't last forever on Earth. They get covered up and hidden away. When we look at the moon, on the other hand, first of all, there's no atmosphere to filter out any of these objects. Plus, there's nothing happening on the moon in terms of plate tectonics or erosion. When there's an impact happening, that crater stays there as a record. So yeah, when we look up at the surface of the moon, we're just seeing the whole history of the solar system in terms of these impact craters that we can see on the moon's surface.
And at the moment, both Waimea, San Diego are exposing for the dark side of the moon, so we can't see these details. I think moving on in the show, we might be able to see some of these craters and some of these details. And you mentioned one on the southern pole of the moon. What was its name again?
Yeah, that's right. So at around about maximum eclipse, where we just had that small sliver of the moon uncovered by the Earth's dark shadow. That was the southern edge of the moon, and that's where there's the very prominent Tycho crater, which is very easy to spot at full moon. And as you say, the two moons that we're looking at here, we're still seeing that reddish color there. But now more than half of the moon is out of that dark reddish shadow, not out of the shadow altogether, because Earth does project two shadows into space, as well as that dark umbral shadow. There is the lighter penumbral shadow. So that bright half of the moon, it's not completely out the shadow yet. It's still within the penumbra, but that is considerably brighter than the umbra. So yes, if we're wanting to catch that red color that we're seeing here, that means the other side of the moon is looking very bright indeed.
It is. And you can read more about the moon on timeanddate.live. We've got news posts about that, and make sure you check it out. We've got a news feed. You can ask your questions. You can share your images. I went into the break and had a look now and saw these beautiful Twitter images from around the world that are sprinkling their magic moon dust over our live stream news feed there. Oh, look, they've adjusted the exposure, and now we can see the crater. Is this Tycho?
So right now we can see that crater indeed. Yes. And now this is a great contrast now of what we were talking earlier about the two different ways that you can look at the eclipse. Either you can look at that reddish color on the eclipsed side of the moon, or you can look at that silvery color on the penumbral shadow side of the moon. This is a great contrast here. Same moon, same shadows, the same moment, just different exposures and just bringing out different details.
Read more about it, timeanddate.live. We're going to take a quick break, but we will be back soon, and see you later. You're watching a partial lunar eclipse here with time and date, and we're coming towards the end. The partial phase is ending in about 15 minutes if we're looking at our timeline there on the start. It'll end at 10:47 UTC, around 10:30 UTC. And we've been enjoying some cloud-free images for once from Kat in New York, Kat Troche, and from the Amateur Astronomers Association there in New York. And we've got the San Diego Astronomy Association, Dave and Gary, who we've talked to earlier in the show, who are giving us a beautiful image of the craters on the moon there.
Yeah, we kept on hoping that the weather was going to come good in New York,
And it did.
It's almost the end of the night.
Yeah.
So it's 5:30 in the morning local time in New York. The moon is getting pretty low in the sky there. So it's going to be morning very soon there. But yeah, Kat Troche is she's got a great view from the top of her apartment building in Queens. So she's following the moon as it gets lower in the sky, and finally she's able to give us these great cloud-free images.
Well done, Kat.
Yeah.
You've been working hard. We know all about it. And so we also were looking at some images from Colin there in Sudbury. We had a little message from them that it was starting to snow. They're packing up.
Right.
So it's slowly subsiding, the whole eclipse and the excitement. But we're still here, and we'll be here for a little while more because, as you might know, eclipses don't really come alone. And there will be another eclipse in 2 weeks, a solar eclipse. And it's a total solar eclipse that can be seen in the Antarctic. And we're not going to the Antarctic. And the Wi-Fi mobile coverage there is notoriously bad. So it's quite difficult to stream an eclipse from the Antarctic. But we've got a little Band-Aid, we're going to give you something after all, aren't we, Graham?
Yes. So tonight's lunar eclipse is happening at full moon. We've got this, near perfect alignment of the sun, earth, and moon. In 2 weeks' time, we have a new moon. But this near perfect alignment still holds in 2 weeks' time. This time, the order is going to be sun, moon, earth. It's going to give us a total solar eclipse, but only just.
Yeah.
because the moon's dark shadow is just hitting the bottom of the globe. The path of totality, the area where the moon can be seen completely covering the sun. This is a narrow path that goes across the continent of Antarctica.
And so some people call it a polar solar eclipse, but we've got a bad name, haven't we, Graham?
So we're calling it the penguin eclipse.
Because mostly penguins are going to see it, right?
It is mostly an event for penguins. Alas, we cannot bring live images of this just because of the notoriously bad internet connectivity that there is in Antarctica. So we are going to be running a live blog. We're going to be featuring the events as they happen, just with text and with images.
Like we're doing tonight, but without us blabbing away.
Exactly. And we have been talking to some of the folks down there in Antarctica. We've been talking to people at the Union Glacier Camp, at the Rothera Research Station, at the Troll Research Station. We've been finding out about what they're doing down there in Antarctica. We're going to be sharing this with you on our live blog over the next couple of weeks and keeping you up to date with events. But alas, no live video of the eclipse that happens there.
Unfortunately. But there are more eclipses to come.
There are.
Yeah. Just like tonight, or almost like tonight, there will be a total lunar eclipse in May next year.
That's right. We have 2 total lunar eclipses coming up
Yeah, another one in November.
in 2022. Right. The first one, May 15 to 16, and the second one, 6 months later on November the 8th. Again, these are very much North America, Pacific events. And again, we are going to be streaming these eclipses live on Time and Date. As far as solar eclipses go, we also had a note there of a big partial solar eclipse that is coming up in 2022. This is on the 25th of October, 2022. This will be a partial solar eclipse across a region that includes sort of part of Eastern Europe and some of Western Asia. And we're hoping to stream live pictures of this big partial eclipse on October 25th.
We're pushing all the clouds away. It's a cloudy time of year.
Right.
So we've just witnessed it now that this is a cloudy time of year. So yeah, it's super cloudy. So, but awesome people want to work with us, and we want to work with awesome people. So if you're in the path of totality of that partial solar eclipse, not path of totality, part of partiality. Is that a thing?
Okay, yeah, the area where the partial eclipse can be seen. Yes.
Get in touch. Huh?
Absolutely.
Yeah. We want to work with new wonderful people like we have been doing today. So we'll be back in a few minutes. We're almost at the end, but we're not quite. Make sure to check out our live blog, and there's a link in there to the live blog for the solar eclipse, and go to timeanddate.live, read more about this eclipse, about future eclipses, ask questions, share your images, do all the fun stuff, and we'll see you soon.